Hi guys, Tab here. Hope you're all keeping well. Straight into the video. So 2,500 miles of Taycan Turbo S, and more specifically EV ownership. What it's been like, things I've found out, things I wasn't expecting, things that have surprised me. Let's discuss it on this video. I've thought of 5 things that I want to discuss, and do forgive me, it's a very sunny day here in the UK. The sun low in the sky, winter time, so if I'm wincing a little bit and have to put my sunnies on, I do apologise in advance, but let's get straight into it. So this is my first EV, and why not go in hard and get a Taycan Turbo S. I couldn't bring myself to go anywhere near a Tesla, so Taycan Turbo S, it had to be. Got a bit of that Porsche DNA, right? That Porsche DNA doing its thing. So what's it been like? The first thing I want to discuss is charging of the car, which is a very important thing when you drive an EV. It's different. Coming from an ICE car, you can pull over at a fuel station, fill it up, and in 5 minutes you're on your way again. Not with one of these. Oh no. It's very different. I've found that I always have the current state of charge of the battery in the back of my mind at all times, sat there whirring away. So you can think, if I go to this destination, am I going to need to charge when I get there? Could I charge on the way? Have I got enough juice to even get there? Because if you don't, having to charge will add significant time to your journey. There is no getting away from that. Even if you're rapid charging, ultra rapid charging, I think 350 kilowatts, you're looking at 20 minutes minimum to get to probably about 85% battery. 20 minutes is still a specifically long wait time at a charging point. So I found that you've got to think about this at all times. Now, I'm fortunate that I can charge at home. Some people can't. It does make everything a little bit easier, but charging at home is a slow process. So if, let's say, you're pretty much empty, you can't go home, whack it in, and then you're on your way again in an hour. No. Well, you might be able to top it up to get to a rapid charger, but it's really an overnight thing, charging at home on 7.2 kilowatts. So if you're dead and you need to charge at home, you've got to wait. All of these things, so you're always thinking, you kind of adjust your way of managing a trip because of that fact. Is it a bad thing? Not necessarily. It's a different thing. I mean, the car is amazing. It's an awesome car. Is it a fun car? Well, we'll talk about that in a bit, but that's the first thing that I found myself thinking about a lot more than I thought I would, is the current state of charge. Your brain almost becomes an EV trip computer. Appreciate you can look at the state of charge on your phone, as I said. You can use the PCM to plan trips where it will charge you when needed, tell you your state of charge on the way, preheat the battery before you get to a charger, all of these really cool things that it can do. It's very clever in that respect, but you know, who knows if the chargers that you're going to has got capacity, if there's going to be a big queue of people waiting to get onto the thing. You saw the queues of Teslas over Christmas waiting at the service station, so you might have to drive around a bit to find a charger. These are all things that you think about with EV ownership, and it's something that I didn't factor in, that I'd be thinking about quite as much as I do. Point number 2 is the comfort of this thing. You can't fault it. It is absolutely sublime. It's the most comfortable car I've ever owned. The seating position is brilliant, still drivey, great access to the pedals, left foot brake, all that good stuff. The steering response is fantastic as well, but it's so comfortable, and when you knock it into sports mode, it really stiffens up, and for a very heavy car, it's very, very surprising. I'm blown away by just how good a job they've done of this, and really, you know, the first test drive blew me away, but after you've driven one for 2,500 miles, you really get a sense of just how good it is and what a great job they've done and how good the brakes are. Honestly, it just blows my mind how good it is. So comfortable, When you're in comfort mode, it's quiet, it's serene, you can just float up the highway, adaptive cruise control, you barely need to touch the thing, it just kind of takes you to your destination. Very clever car, very capable car. The all-round ability of this car, I think there's nothing that would touch it, potentially. Possibly. Definitely one for discussion, right? One thing that isn't comfortable about this car is getting in and out. You can see here on camera, this B pillar here is so far forward being a 4-door. Why is it a 4-door and not a 2-door? I don't know, but it would be much better if it was. But getting in and around this thing for a tall bloke like me is, you've got to do kind of weird gymnastic contortion that I would probably be able to win competitions with if I demonstrated it. It's very hard to get in and out of. The 911 is much easier. You've got deeper doors that open, access to the seat. It's horrible in this, so that's one area that I don't like at all. And I will do a separate video on specific areas of this car that, you know, are foibles that I'm not so keen on. But apart from that, once you're in, it's very, very comfortable indeed. And that kind of brings me on from point 2 to point number 3, is how much this car has surpassed my expectations. It's been really, really good in that respect. I went into EV ownership with an open mind and an open heart, and indeed it's worked out pretty well. I have to say, I'm very, very impressed with this car. Now, it's not a head turner, this car. It's quiet, it's understated, it looks kind of Porsche, right? It could be a Panamera, it could be anything really for those that are untrained. Now, whenever I see one on the road, I always head turn because I love the things. I think they look fantastic. From every angle, I'm not so sure, and that's another separate video. But this one, for me, is a brilliant car that has absolutely surpassed my expectations. If you're, you know, coming from a 570, McLaren 570, that was a massive head turner across all ages. And I don't buy a car to turn heads. It's not my agenda, right? It's nice to get a bit of attention and have conversations with people who appreciate a bit of automotive excellency, no doubt. But this car is absolutely not a head turner. Very understated, but I kind of quite like that. Very, very stealthy. I do know some folk on YouTube have gotten rid of their Taycans because it wasn't turning heads enough. Those people that perhaps fancy a little bit more attention, right? No names mentioned. But really, it is a very, very capable car. I'm so impressed. Just putting your foot down now in slippy weather, on slippy roads, just picks up. 4-wheel drive, handling is fantastic. The brakes are absolutely ludicrous. I can't tell you how good the carbon ceramics on this are. You'd think it shouldn't be stopping as good as it does, but Porsche, apparently they've got this thing where if a car can get to 60 miles an hour in 3 seconds, it needs to be able to stop in half that time, so 1.5 seconds, which is pretty darn impressive, right? But it's a brilliant all-rounder. It's such a phenomenal car in that respect. So reason number 4 in this car that I want to discuss is something that I wasn't expecting quite so much of, and that is that you get a lot of abuse from ICE car owners. People that, your friends that own ICE cars that have watched you convert over to buying an EV, you get a lot of stick. Driving around in your appliance, your computer on wheels, your soulless car, your battery, your giant mobile phone, you get a lot of abuse, a lot of stick for driving an EV. And you find some ICE car owners really vent their anger. You get a lot of abuse on social media for driving an EV from ICE cars. And you know, I can understand it. It's almost like you expect to be pulled up in court and charged of being a traitor of ICE car ownership. Almost treason level offence, you get a feeling, to a certain extent. But it's surprising just how much stick you get. But if you're not that bothered about stick, and I'm not, it's kind of water off a duck's back. I'm older, I've had a lot of stick in my time, you get used to it. Yeah, whatever. People will always have opinions. There's not much you can do about it. They're entitled to have opinions. It's absolutely fine, but expect it, you'll get it. Point number 5, and the last point I want to cover on this, and I guess this point is very specific to this car particularly, i.e. the Porsche Taycan Turbo S. Can you see where this is going? Any guesses as to what it might be? Yeah, it is range. Now, I knew buying a Taycan that they weren't renowned for having good range. They got very powerful motors, 560 kilowatt in this of motor, which is ludicrous. Is that half a megawatt of DC power? I think it is, right? Which is insane. It is absolutely bonkers fast, but the battery needs to be bigger. Obviously that would add weight, but it does. This car specifically needs a lot more range. Now, I knew it would be poor on the range, but I was surprised just how poor it is. Now, we're at winter time right now. They recommend only charging at 85% for, you know, getting around. Unless you're going on a long trip, then you top it up to 100 before you leave to get that extra range. But right now, with the aircon running, the heating, etc., I'm honestly at 85% state of charge, looking at about 160 miles of range, which is not a lot at all. It really isn't. It could do with being a lot more. Now, it was improved. The range has been improved with software updates, but still in this, and I do like to drive it properly. You know, if you whack it in range mode and sit at speed limit everywhere, which obviously I stick at the speed limit, but getting to the speed limit is the fun bit, right, in this. So the range definitely needs to be improved, and I think you'll see that in future generations. The Taycan's still very early days for Porsche in before into EV. We've got the Macan coming, the full EV Macan, and the Cayman coming along soon as well, right? But it is absolutely a car that needs more range. Now, here's the thing. Some friends of mine are planning a road trip around Europe this summer, all owning ICE cars. And I thought, yeah, that sounds great. And then I realised I'd want to do it in the Taycan. And then I realised there's no way I could do it in the Taycan with a load of other ICE car owners who, when they get low on fuel after, you know, maybe 250 miles on a tank, maybe a little bit more if they're lucky, 300, who knows, depending on how they're driving. Hopefully it's going to be a low range on the tank because they're enjoying it, but they pull into a service station, fill up, 5 minutes, they're on their way. I couldn't do that. I'd have to, provided I got a fast charger, wait for 20 minutes minimum. That's if there was no queue, that's if it was all working, that's if it was an ultra fast, rapid, super duper mega charger. Otherwise, there's no way I can make it work. You know, spirited driving, the range might get down to 160, so you're having to pull over after 160 when, let's say it's a 1,000-mile road trip, 1,500 miles, however far. You just couldn't make it work with a load of other ICE cars. Now, I'm hoping at some point the battery technology of EVs is going to improve. So we'll get solid state, we'll get the ability to charge in maybe 5 minutes, and it'd just be so much better. But yeah, that's point number 5 in this car. It needs more range. More videos, more content to come. If you do like it, do appreciate a sub. It really does help the channel out. And I will definitely be following up with videos about things that I find a little bit frustrating about the car. It's got some idiosyncrasies that I'd like to discuss. But that's it for now on this one. Really appreciate you watching. Thank you very much. Do take care, stay well. See you on the next one. Bye for now.